Narcissistic parents are experts at emotional manipulation. They don't just want to raise children, they want to raise reflections of themselves. Growing up under their control feels like walking on eggshells while trying to win a game whose rules keep changing. They can't stand the idea of their child having real confidence, because confident children become independent, and independence means losing control. That's why they constantly chip away at their child's self-esteem in quiet, sneaky ways, through covert criticism disguised as help, through sarcasm hidden as jokes, through constant comparisons that make you feel like you'll never measure up. The narcissistic parent isn't parenting, they're performing. Every interaction is about maintaining their image and superiority. They can't just say, "I'm proud of you." Instead, they'll say, "You did well, but you could have done better." That "but" becomes the knife that cuts into your confidence every single time. You start to feel like nothing you do is ever enough, and that's exactly how they want it. Because as long as you're chasing their approval, you'll never notice how controlled you are. They create a system of emotional dependency, what experts call trauma bonding, where love and criticism are mixed together until you can't tell which is which. You learn to equate love with anxiety, approval with silence, and peace with walking on eggshells. It's emotional confusion, and that confusion becomes their power over you. The narcissistic parent will often disguise their control as concern. They'll say things like, "I just want what's best for you," while they're actually sabotaging your self-belief. When you dream big, they'll mock you. When you start succeeding, they'll compete with you. When you set boundaries, they'll play the victim. It's never about your growth. It's about maintaining their dominance. If you get too confident, they panic. They'll remind you of every mistake you've made, every flaw you have, every reason why you should still need them. And when you finally start pulling away, they'll suddenly become nice, loving, and apologetic. That's the hoovering phase, where they suck you back in with fake love. It's not love, it's control dressed up in affection. And the cruel part is, they often do it so subtly that even you start questioning your reality. You wonder, maybe I'm too sensitive, or maybe I'm overreacting. That's not an accident, that's gaslighting. It's their most powerful weapon. Our covert narcissist doesn't need to shout or scream. They can destroy your confidence with a calm tone and a fake smile. They'll plant little seeds of doubt in your mind until you become your own critic. Children of narcissistic parents often grow up feeling like they're both too much and never enough at the same time. You become hyper-aware of others' emotions because you were trained to manage your parents' moods from a young age. You start apologizing for things that aren't your fault and overthinking every word before you say it. That's not personality, that's conditioning. You were conditioned to shrink so they could shine. But here's the twist. The very sensitivity they mocked you for is actually your strength. That deep awareness, that empathy, that ability to read the room, that's emotional intelligence, something narcissists lack completely. You didn't inherit their darkness, you survived it. And that's where your transformation begins. The moment you stop trying to earn their approval and start giving yourself the validation they never gave, the healing begins. It's not about fighting them. It's about freeing yourself from their script. See, narcissistic parents need control like oxygen. When they can't control you directly, they'll try to control how you see yourself. They'll rewrite your memories, twist your emotions, and make you believe you're ungrateful or disloyal for setting boundaries. That's their fear. They can't handle your autonomy, because your independence reminds them of their own emptiness. So they turn your confidence into a threat. They'll mock your achievements with backhanded compliments, minimize your successes by taking credit, and guilt-trip you whenever you show strength. "Oh, you think you're better than me now," they'll say with a smirk. That's not just insecurity, it's projection. Narcissists project everything they can't face within themselves onto you. They call you selfish because they are. They call you dramatic because they are. They call you ungrateful because they can't stand not being worshipped. But there comes a moment in every survivor's life when the fog starts to clear, when you realize the constant self-doubt isn't yours, it was planted. When you notice that the inner critic in your head sounds suspiciously like your parents' voice. That's when the healing begins. Because healing from narcissistic abuse isn't about revenge, it's about reclamation. Reclaiming your voice, your worth, your reality. You start to see through their patterns, the guilt-tripping, the silent treatment, the fake apologies, and suddenly it all makes sense. The confusion that once controlled you turns into clarity. You stop reacting and start observing. You realize that silence can be your greatest power. When you stop explaining yourself, they lose their grip. When you stop needing their approval, they lose their control. And that's when your confidence starts rebuilding itself, not as arrogance but as peace. There's a moment every child of a narcissist remembers, the moment they achieved something they were proud of, only to have it dismissed. Maybe you brought home an award and they said, "Well, it's not like you're the best." Or maybe they ignored it completely, as if acknowledging your success would threaten their status. That's heartbreaking, but here's the truth. Their reaction was never about you. It was about their inability to share the spotlight. Narcissists can't handle someone else's shine because they believe light is limited. But confidence isn't a competition. It's a state of inner safety. And when you finally understand that, their power fades. You stop playing small to make others comfortable. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop believing that love must be earned. The biggest lie narcissistic parents tell their children is that love is conditional, that you must be perfect to be accepted, silent to be safe, and obedient to be loved. But real love doesn't need perfection. It needs presence. Real love doesn't require you to hide your personality or shrink your dreams. So if you grew up constantly seeking validation, overthinking every interaction or doubting your worth, it's not because you're broken. It's because you were trained to survive in an environment where your self-worth was treated as a threat. And now as an adult, you can rewrite that script. You can stop replaying their voice in your mind and start replacing it with your own. Every time you set a boundary, you're breaking the generational pattern. Every time you stand up for yourself, you're teaching your inner child that it's finally safe to exist. Here's the beautiful irony. The same qualities narcissistic parents try to destroy, your kindness, your empathy, your authenticity, are the exact qualities that make you powerful. They feared your light because it exposed their darkness. They mocked your emotions because it reminded them of their emptiness. But no matter how many times they tried to dim you, your light never went out, it just learned to hide. And now it's your time to unhide it. Confidence for you isn't about shouting louder or proving anyone wrong. It's about remembering who you were before they made you doubt yourself. It's about rebuilding self-trust after years of gaslighting. It's about realizing that your voice matters, your feelings matter, and your existence was never meant to be an accessory to someone else's ego. When you finally break free from that emotional cage, you start noticing something incredible. The same traits that once made you feel weak, your sensitivity, your empathy, your overthinking, become your superpowers. You become deeply intuitive, emotionally aware, and resilient beyond measure. You start seeing manipulation from a mile away. You stop taking emotional bait. You stop needing closure from people who will never take responsibility. That's the transformation, moving from emotional survival to emotional mastery. You no longer need their approval because you've built your own identity, one that's not rooted in fear but in self-respect. And let's be honest, healing from a narcissistic parent isn't a walk in the park. It's more like trying to fix your GPS after years of driving, with someone else giving you wrong directions. You'll second-guess yourself. You'll doubt your progress. You'll have moments where their voice echoes in your head, louder than your own. But that's okay. Healing isn't linear, it's layered. Every boundary you set, every truth you speak, every time you refuse to internalize their projection, you're rewiring your mind. You're teaching yourself that you're not difficult. You were just raised in an environment that punished authenticity. And once that realization clicks, your confidence returns, not as something new but as something reclaimed. The narcissistic parent wanted control, but what they accidentally created was someone who sees through control. They wanted obedience, but they created independence. They wanted to break you, but all they did was reveal your strength. And that's the ultimate reversal of power. Because once you understand the pattern, you can't unsee it. You'll start noticing the same traits in other narcissistic relationships. Friends, partners, bosses, and you'll walk away faster. You'll no longer be the person who doubts their worth when someone treats them poorly. You'll become the person who recognizes manipulation instantly and chooses peace instead of chaos. So if you're watching this and realizing how deep this pattern runs, remember this. You're not crazy, you're not weak, and you're definitely not unlovable. You were raised to believe that love meant control, but now you know love means freedom. The same parent who tried to silence your voice taught you the importance of using it. The same parent who tried to crush your confidence made you realize how powerful it truly is. That's your transformation, not becoming who they wanted you to be, but becoming who you were meant to be before they interfered. And here's your next step. Stop seeking permission to feel confident. You don't need it. Confidence doesn't come from being flawless. It comes from being free. Free from their guilt, their projections, their noise. You're not the insecure child they raised. You're the self-aware adult who sees the truth. And once you see it, they can't control you anymore. So stand tall, reclaim your voice, and understand this. Your confidence isn't rebellion, it's recovery. And recovery is the ultimate revenge.